Welcome back to the Anchored with Purpose podcast. On today's episode, we've got author and speaker Shemaiah Gonzalez. And let me tell you, we're talking about joy. And I don't think that I've ever met a person so connected with joy. You're going to be able to hear it and feel it through the screen and your AirPods. Shemaiah writes about joy, but she also talks about how you can find the joy in every day. Let's dive in. Feeling stretched thin? Constantly busy, yet wondering if there's more to life than simply getting through the day? Maybe you've lost sight of who you are beneath all of the responsibilities. Maybe your faith feels rushed, your dreams have been sitting on a shelf, and you're craving more peace, purpose, and direction. Friend, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Anchored with Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Wilkinson, a Catholic wife, mom, author, speaker, and coach, passionate about helping women reconnect with God, live with greater intention, and confidently step into the purpose that He has for you. Each week, you'll hear honest conversations, inspiring stories, practical encouragement, and faith-filled wisdom to help you deepen your relationship with God, strengthen what matters most, and pursue the dreams that God has placed on your heart. Whether you're navigating a season of transition, searching for clarity, or simply longing to feel more anchored in your everyday life, you'll find encouragement and community here. So whether you're unloading the dishwasher, sitting in the school pickup line, or out for a morning walk, or checking off one more thing on your to-do list, know that you're not alone. Take a deep breath, grab your coffee, and let's spend the next few minutes getting anchored with purpose together. Let's grow in faith, live with purpose, and become the women God has created us to be. Welcome to Anchored with Purpose. Well, hey there, Shemaiah. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I get to have a fun conversation in the middle of the day.
I know. I'm excited about it. I love that, this is what I get to do. Just have conversations all the time. It's pretty amazing. Now, Shemaiah, I'd love for you to just start by sharing your story. So we got to meet through a mutual friend, and I would love, though, for you to share with all of our friends listening today, what's your faith journey and how did that lead you to what you're doing today?
Gosh, I'll try to make it a little bit brief. I was brought up in Southern California in the 70s and 80s, and it was the Jesus movement then, and that's when I know there's a film that was made about it recently, and I was brought up in a Christian home and my parents were involved in that. So there was always just a lot of God's presence in our lives. And I went to a Brethren school, which is kind of an offshoot of Baptist for those who are more familiar with that, and loved it. Maybe not in the moment. In the moment, I probably thought they were strict, but now I see just what a great education I got, and also formation, just a solid understanding of Bible background, and moved into a charismatic church in my high school years, and just very spirit filled. And then as I moved into adulthood, I started dating a friend of mine from high school, and he was a cradle Catholic. And so in the midst of going to seminary, a Protestant seminary, to go into ministry, I started leaving class a little bit early to go to mass in the middle of the day, and just loved it. It was different than anything I had ever experienced. Just the quiet, I just fell absolutely in love with the liturgy, just the language of it, the cadence of it, the beauty of Mass. It took me, we were married in the Catholic Church, my husband and I, because yes, I married him. And it took me another 5 years until I converted, which has to do with what we'll be talking about later too, is just this sense of pride in myself and lack of surrendering to Jesus. So it took another 5 years. And truth be told, this is my whole life of learning how to surrender to Jesus. So it wasn't just those 5 years. But now my sons are being brought up in Catholicism, and I love it. And I'm so grateful that I made this journey, and that's the short version of, yes, all of it.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Shemaiah, I love that you talked about surrender because, boy, can surrender be so hard. It's funny when we can look back and say, well, I see what you did there, God, right? Like you were really clearing a path for me, or you were really showing me the way, but boy, I was clinging pretty tight to it before I surrendered. My goodness. So I love this also part of your story. You were in seminary in
Yeah.
the Protestant church
Yeah.
and began going to mass, began exploring on your journey into Catholicism. And what was that like? Like, what did those tugs feel like for you before you surrendered?
Felt like peace. It felt like
Oh,
structure. I grew up in a really chaotic home with a bit of abuse and neglect, and I felt like the Catholic Church was calm and structured and peaceful. And now I can tell that it felt like home, and I never really had home before.
love
So,
that.
yeah. And
And so
just
then,
the beauty of it all. I think, you know what? I was thinking about that this morning. I knew I was going to talk to you. And you know how sometimes God uses people, and certainly that's been some of my experience too. But I was thinking about the thread that goes through my whole life, and it's been some sort of connection with the arts, whether it's music or literature or artwork, visual art. And those windows to the transcendent throughout my whole life were more of a friend to me than there were times where my life was very lonely, but I had those windows to the transcendent. And I feel like coming in to the Catholic Church brought all those things together
I
because the
love
music, the especially chants and the beauty of the artwork and bringing that into the worship space, which was I had gone to very stark churches before, and then the ultimate, the liturgy, like literature, the word coming into being, and that's when I finally realized, oh, Jesus is the word now. So yeah, all of those beautiful things coming together in Catholicism.
Oh, that's so good. Now, here's a question I have. What were you doing in seminary? What did you think you were going to do? Like, what was the plan for your life at that point?
If I had a plan, I knew that I wanted to know more about Jesus, and I felt the calling to go into there to learn more, and I did. I always laugh that, someone says, "Oh, you have a seminary degree." And I said, "Well, you study for 2 years and you get out and you realize you don't know anything." I mean, it's just to teach you humility, which that's a lifelong journey for me. I knew that I wanted to serve somehow. I'm a big city girl, always have lived in big cities, grew up in Los Angeles. At that time it was Portland, and now I live in Seattle. I knew I wanted to serve somehow in inner city ministry. And in a sense, I guess I have. I did work with the homeless for many years before my kids were born, and I live right in it in, in
Yes, you do.
Seattle. There's whatever you've seen in the news, it's true, and I live right in it. There are campers right outside of my property line, RVs that have been there for years. I don't know. This is a very unchurched area of the country, and I sometimes feel like the lone Christian in Seattle. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just trying to be light in a dark place. And I mean, it's clear I'm different, and my family's different than a lot of people around here.
I love what you just said, light in a dark place. That
Yeah.
that I think just speaks to the work that you're doing, and I think perfectly just leads into let's talk about your writing. And one of the main topics that you've been writing about recently, which is joy. So talk to us about undaunted joy. Like just tell us all of the things.
All the things about Undaunted Joy. Well, I'm one of those people who think of a word for the year. I'm like, oh,
Yes. Yes, you're in the
you
right
do that
place. Me too. We talk about that all the time. Yes.
And so a few years, I usually, I'll pray about it. See, Lord, what do you want to show me this year, this coming year? Because I'll kind of do it at the end in December. And at the end of December 2019, I felt like God was really calling me to look at joy. And I thought, oh, isn't that fun? Oh, I'd love to look at joy. I want to be happy. And I said, this is going to be a blast. And then 2020 happened. And I said, oh, maybe I was mistaken. Maybe that's not what you were calling me to. And then distinctly, I heard, no, you're going to find joy in this. And you're going to learn from it. And you're going to show other people how to find joy in the midst of it. And so I think at first it just kind of trying to find my footing like everybody in 2020. And then I started feeling like I need to write this down. So I started a Substack. I think that started the next year, but I could be wrong. It could have been even later. But I started a Substack where I gave myself a spiritual discipline where every week I'm going to write about where I found joy in that week.
I love that.
Whatever happened. Like if my husband got in an accident, which he did, and he was sitting on the couch and he had a surgery, where was I going to find joy in that week? And so it was a challenge as it is. But through it all, I discovered that joy is not about circumstances, which 2020 really showed me.
Mm-hmm.
It's beyond ourselves. Joy comes from God. It is the result of abiding in him. It is transcendent and is outside of me. And whenever I don't feel so joyful, I look at life and I realize, oh, I'm not really surrendering to Jesus right now. That's why I'm not so joyful.
Interesting.
And I got to be honest with
Surrender
you,
the
that was the
positive.
last couple of days for me. So
Wow.
this is an ongoing, it's like every day you have to choose, just
Yes.
like, how it says in the scripture, we got to pick up our cross. We've got to follow Jesus daily. It's the same thing. You've got to choose to abide in him and have the result be joy. That's one of the fruits of the Spirit. So
For sure. Now, Shemaiah, you just said you've been walking through this in real time. Now, the women who listen to this podcast, a lot of times they're feeling overwhelmed. They've got a lot going on. They're wearing all of the hats. So when life is feeling that way, when life is lifing, right? How can we begin to rediscover that joy without just pretending like, I'm fine, it's fine, everything's fine? But how can we truly rediscover that joy?
well, like I said, that was me the last couple days. So I get it. I don't live in this perpetually. It's something I have to try really hard at and listen to Jesus. And please forgive me. We've got the guys outside blowing the yard, like right outside my window.
That's all right. We can edit that out.
I think part of if you're feeling lost, like I did the last 2 days, I think two things always sort of pull me in. One, and you hear this all the time, and then you roll your eyes, but it's true. Gratitude. Like
Yes.
my life is really great, and
Mhm.
I'm complaining and whining about it, and I'm not feeling happy the last couple days. And happiness is different than joy. Happiness is based on circumstances.
Right.
And the reality is that my life is pretty amazing. I've got people cutting my lawn right now. I don't have to cut my lawn. I mean, that's so great, isn't that?
What a blessing. What a
Yes.
blessing.
I have a horrible allergy, so it would be like comical for me to mow my lawn. But starting with gratitude and what is wonderful about my life? I always say, like, stop. 3 things. What 3 things are great and beautiful? The other thing is to worship. I mean, when you sit and worship, sitting in adoration or putting on the music and singing along. I have one little sort of bougie way of worshiping.
Now I need to hear it. What's your bougie way of worshiping?
After the gym in the morning, my gym has a dry sauna. And I like to go in the dry sauna and just sit and be quiet and he's there in the dry sauna.
Yes, he's
And
everywhere. Of
so-
course. Yeah.
And
Love that.
I just worship the Lord and give him my day. I look over the day and pray over it. So I prayed for you, Melissa, this morning when I sat in the dry sauna.
Thank you.
I was like, oh, and then I'm going to talk to Melissa and then I'm going to do this. So, and just give him all of those moments of the day. And then I'm ready. So I think just
Oh,
sitting in worship and sitting in gratitude is a way to sort of, getting grounded again,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I want to kind of bring us full circle a second. So you chose joy as your word of the year for 2020. You then began writing about one thing that brought you joy each week, which I think this is a great lesson for our listeners, where if you're just picking that one thing, and one of the things we talk about, so I have a planner, and in the bottom right corner is a spot to write down your weekly wins, right? So we're celebrating wins. And in the faith journal, we've got a spot for gratitude, right? Starting your day with gratitude. So Shemaiah, you're talking about like that joy finds you, and you can find that joy when you're doing these practices on a regular basis, identifying the things that give you that are joyful about the week, identifying the things that you're grateful for, and that can just change just how you feel about everything.
Yes. Yeah. It's a mind frame. Once you start looking for joy, you find it everywhere. It's contagious.
Yes.
I write about that in the book because it's like once you get in that, I mean, it's the same with thinking negatively. Once you get in
Yes.
that negative space, it's hard to get out of it. You
Right.
know? Well, guess what? The opposite is true. Once you get in that joyful space, it's hard to get out of it too. You know? Like
And then
you find everything hilarious.
yes. Well, I have to tell you, if you hadn't told me that the past few days have been difficult, that you
Yeah.
weren't feeling it, I wouldn't know talking to you today, because you've clearly made that choice. You've put into practice the things that you're talking about, and that has changed. Like, you can tell when somebody's faking it,
Yeah.
right? Like, you can tell inauthenticity, and I can feel it to you from across the country, right? Like, I can feel this joy coming from you.
I
Now,
can only be honest. I don't know. I can't be fake. I think it's from growing up in Los Angeles. It's like seeing that is the culture in Los Angeles. So I fought against it and said, there's no way I'm giving into this. I can't be fake.
I think that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. Now, here's something. We'll pause a second.
I
Give it a
know.
second. Yeah, all
He's
good.
right. They're both of them. There's the guy with the blower and the guy and the guy with the lawn.
Yes,
But this is so great because it's going to be an amazing weekend. And now my yard is going to be so much fun and we can
that's
sit
going to
out.
be so
It's going
nice.
to be like 80 something degrees and it doesn't get over 80 in Seattle. So
Oh,
now we're going to get to sit outside and our yard is going to look great.
I'm excited for you. Oh, it looks like it could storm here. It's like 90 here, which like never, it's
Uh,
like 80s it'll happen, but 90,
it's
it looks
nice.
like we might get a
90
quick
is
thunderstorm.
close.
It's 90, which I don't mind it because the winters are so long. I'll take 90. But anyway, okay, here's my next question for you, Shmaya. We often hear this phrase, comparison is the thief of joy. But I think there's some other thieves of joy out there too. Perfectionism, the pressure to do it all. These are struggles that women are facing these days, especially when, again, we're trying to balance all of the things. So, how have you learned to embrace what God's given you instead of chasing someone else's version of success?
I think that I was blessed to learn that very early in life. I grew up a very poor kid. I grew up on welfare, on government cheese, and somehow I got to go to a private school. And it was actually my grandfather who paid for my school. And so I went to school with kids that had a lot more than me. And there was no way I could compare myself to them. I was wearing
Mhm.
hand-me-downs and they were going to Europe to get
Yes.
clothes in the summer for the new school year. I mean, there's just no way. And so I had to learn pretty quickly not to compare myself, not to feel jealous. And the way I moved that in my head is I thought to myself, well, how fun. I get to come to their house and experience their cool house, eat their cool food, and be with them. Often those families were more educated than mine was. And so I was able to have conversations with parents. I was able to talk about things and experience things that I just wouldn't have in my own life. And there's just nothing I could do but be me. And so, like, I, I don't want anyone else to be like someone else. Okay, so here's the thing. Do you have a kid that's like so much like you? Like
Um,
you have
I've got one who, like, God bless him, poor thing. When I look at all of the negative traits in myself, I gave him,
Yeah.
like, all of them. I feel like
Yes.
I'm dramatic, he's dramatic, like so many. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So, we all have a kid like that, one that's like our husband. And,
Yep.
so you're like, I love these things. There's the balance. And then there's the kid that's so like you. And it's the mirror of all the things that drive you crazy about yourself. And so
100%.
it's like, I mean, of course you love your kid, and that's really helpful to see the things that are difficult in yourself. One of the blessings of having children is learning how to grow through that when you see that. But it's also like, I don't want all of my kids to be like me. That would be
Yes.
really irritating.
Right. Right.
So the theme with comparing yourself to others, like, no, just be you.
Yes, that makes so much sense. And I love that you were able to learn that from such a young age, because I think, like, one of the ways our culture is, feeling like we have to conform, right? Like we have to be like everyone else, talk like everyone else, dress like everyone else. And social media has even exacerbated that, right? Like when you and I were kids, we had magazines to look at, and when you finished it, that was it. And then that's all you saw, right? Just those glossy images, but then it was over with. Now it's a constant feed of
Oh,
comparison, reminding us like she's a better speaker than me. She's had more speaking engagements. She's published more books than me. Oh, her podcast is doing better, right? Like we have all of that, but I feel like that can be so draining and defeating. And I know that comes from the enemy. And that's
yes.
where we have to just change that mindset. And I love how you shifted your mindset all of the way back from being a kid and said, "Oh, I get to experience their really cool house now. I get to talk to their parents. I get to try new foods." Like, what a great and beautiful mindset change right there.
Yeah. Well, also with the examples that you shared, like okay, let's be honest. So yes, sometimes I get in that space, and there is a woman who I love her writing. I love her writing. And she just got another book deal, and I felt a little tinge in my heart.
Mm.
Like,
Uh-huh.
I wish I did. That's like so silly. I love her writing. I want to read it. The things that she writes about, I don't want to be specific because then everyone will figure out who it is. But the things that she writes about are things that I have not. She has a doctorate in this. I have not studied this topic well enough to write. It's just ridiculous that I would feel jealous inside. And so, like, right then and there, when I feel it, and it's this one woman in particular who I've met, and she's a wonderful lady. And right then in that moment, I'm like, Lord, take this from me
Mm,
and,
yes.
bless her. And thank you for the work that she's doing for your kingdom. And just, this is a different way of seeing the work she does is very historical. So we can see the panorama of church history through her work.
Yes.
That I tell stories. Like that's the kind of writing I do. And it's just so kind of changing to that sense of abundance, that there's space in the church for all of these people to show different aspects and, the kaleidoscope of God's presence in our world. And it's abundance. It's abundance. I
I love
cannot
that.
do what
Yes.
she does. And so, like, I just want to lift up the work that she does. And every time that I feel that sort of tinge, I know that's not right. That's a
No,
sin.
it's
It's
not
a
from
sin.
the Lord for sure.
No.
It's from the enemy right there. Man, well, Shemai, you did talk about how you tell stories and you help other people tell stories too. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about what you do and how you use your gifts as a writer to help other writers.
Well, my book, Undaunted Joy, is not didactic by any means. I talk about finding joy in the world, which I say is the presence of God. It's finding Jesus working in the world. And in my book, I just tell stories to highlight that. So it's not like a list or you should do this and that. It's just telling stories. And when I help other writers, I want them to bring their angle, just like that other writer I talked about, where where she knows a lot more about history. And I mean, she's smarter than me. She's a smart lady. And so there's writers who come to me that have different ways that they want to express, that tugging on their heart. And so there's other storytellers as well. Right now, I'm working with a poet. Well, I have a class on Monday, and I just saw some of the work that's coming across for us to workshop. And one is hilarious. Like I sometimes I'm funny, but this is like another level of funny. And so to help these writers be more of themselves, through their work, I always say, think of one person that you're telling this story to, because I think often we start editing ourselves in writing because
Yep.
we want, we want to speak to everyone, and this person might get their feelings hurt or this person might get their feelings hurt. And I said, no, think of who you want to write this to, like, because it helps with the tone, So is it your best friend who loves you no matter what, and you can be silly and share that? Or sometimes is it your priest? Do you want to encourage your priest? Or do you wish he would understand this about the parish, or whatever? I know I used to write a column for our archdiocese magazine here, and sometimes I would write it as if I was writing to my priest, and I knew he read it. So
That's so good. Now, what about for the woman listening who feels called to write or create or lead or pursue just a dream that God's put on her heart, but she's feeling unqualified or afraid? Because we know that happens. What encouragement would you offer her?
Well, and I was in that place about 12 years ago. And I would write these emails to my friends that I called it in 5 minutes. Like the email heading would say 5 minutes, because that's
Oh,
all.
okay.
I had little kids. I didn't have a lot of time. They had little kids. They didn't have a lot of time to read it. So I was going to give myself 5 minutes of this creative time and write whatever it was that I was thinking about. And so I would say to those women, start small, give yourself 5 minutes,
Yes.
and see what you do with it. How wonderful to have 5 minutes throughout the day that you're looking forward to. I can't wait until nap time, or I can't wait until the kids go to sleep, and I'm going to have this 5 minutes to myself to be creative, and also to think, to let yourself be curious, and let yourself play. Don't be so serious, because of course it's going to make you nervous and give you anxiety if you're thinking about it in that way. Think of yourself as a kid and you just want to experiment and play. I also really encourage people to, with that curiosity, to go to whoever's done it well. If you want to be a painter, study the greats, right? If you want to be a writer, study the great works of literature. A musician. So go to those works and look at them, because that scratches that part of your brain of creativity and then makes you want to go and do work of your own. There's an example of this recently. I was reading Christian Wyman, who's a fantastic poet and also nonfiction. He writes memoir work. And I was reading something of his, and he was talking about tucking his kids and his girls to bed. And I just thought that was a lovely moment. And I thought about how I go to bed earlier than everyone else in my family.
Same girl.
And so and I say this to mothers who have small children, this shift might happen for you too.
Yep.
So I go to bed early now, and my sons, who are teenagers, stay up late. And so everyone tucks me into bed.
Yes. Isn't it the best? I love it.
So when I was reading Christian Wyman talking about tucking his girls into bed, I thought about that shift in our life, and I said, "Oh, I've got to write this down." So I put down the book and I went over and I started working on an essay about everyone tucking me into bed. Maybe about 2 weeks later, I picked that book up again and realized I was in that section. I read 10 books at a time, so I hadn't moved back to that book yet, and realized, oh, this is when I wrote that essay, because I was reading this. So that's what happens when you look at good works of art in your field. It makes you want to go do that. So don't be afraid. I know a lot of people think, oh, I don't want to be a copycat or,
Mhm.
you know, no, that's not how it happens. In MFA program, we would always talk about how we were in conversation with certain artists that we loved. What
Got that.
what writers are you in conversation with? I have several authors. Brian Doyle is one of them. Kathleen Norris, perhaps Christian Wyman is coming into that too, but artists that you're always in conversation with, when you read them, you start talking back to them, "Oh, yes, I agree with that," or "I like that," or "You know what I would say about that?" And then that's where you kind of use it as a jumping off point. So
I love that.
don't be
Shemaiah,
afraid.
I think my favorite part of that was where you just gave the woman listening permission to, first of all, be creative, but second of all, even if it's just 5 minutes,
Yeah.
take that 5 minutes, no matter what portion of your life you're in, that 5 minutes, whether it is studying one of the greats, being a little creative yourself, doing something in that field. And I think that's what every woman needs to hear. Like, first of all, yes, you have permission to go pursue your dreams. If nobody else said you could, Shemaiah just said you can, ladies,
I
right?
did.
But then also that 5 minutes, so much can change in that 5 minutes. I love that. I
I'll
love
tell
that.
you, those 5-minute stories emails that I sent to friends, one, so maybe I did it for a couple of months, and one of my friends wrote back one time and she said, "You know what? If you spent 5 more minutes on this, I bet you could turn it into Busted Halo and they would publish it."
Oh,
And so that next day when I did my 5 minutes, I spent a little more time cleaning it up and adding to it, turned it into Busted Halo, and that was my first published piece ever.
I
And
love
that's how it happened. And it was just 5 minutes at a time. I mean, think about it when your kid's at swim lesson and you're sitting in the bleachers or waiting in the car at pickup.
yeah.
You can find those little increments and add to it. Quit thinking of it oh, I'm going to have a full day or an hour. No, no, no. Just little bits at a time.
So good, because it does not have to be an hour. It does not have to be that whole day. 5 minutes. And look what happens when you add 5 minutes more. You get to talk to Father Dave on Busted Halo. That's
I did.
pretty awesome. And he is so much fun. I I love him. Oh my gosh. Well, Shemaiah, as we close, where can our listeners connect with you, learn more about all of your work, and also pick up a copy of Undaunted Joy?
I'd love it. I have a website that has all the things, clicks to where you can buy the book Undaunted Joy, both on Amazon and on some smaller venues as well. It is on Amazon, of course. I write a Substack every Sunday morning. It comes out around 500 words of where I found joy this week. This week I found it at Costco this week. I
Oh,
was
I need to hear. Are my sister and sister-in-law listening because they're obsessed with Costco? We don't have one near us, but they send me like Costco Instagram reels every week.
Oh my
So please
goodness.
tell us where you found joy at Costco.
I had to sit in the food court waiting for my tires to get changed. So there's nothing you can do but sit there. You can't go somewhere else. And just how much fun I had in the food court area. So that's what I wrote about this week on Substack. So follow me there. And then I'm on X, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. I think that's all the things,
All
right?
right. Well,
I'm
we'll put
sure there's
all of those links in here. And then one more place, if they want a little sneak peek, we do have some Bible app friends on here. Your Undaunted Joy is on the Bible app as well. So they can get little tastes of the book right through there, and some scripture and a little bit of joy for every day.
Yes, please
Amazing.
do.
Well, Shemaiah, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate this. Just what a blessing it is, and what a joy to get to talk to you. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. I hope your cheeks hurt from smiling and laughing.
This is why I love my job. I literally just I can't stop smiling. Like, I get to do this. I just feel so grateful that this is what I get
That's
to do.
the spirit between us. That's the spirit within us, ministering to each other and encouraging
Amen.
each other in the Lord.
Again, even from across the country, like we were just joking about that beforehand. It's not a quick plane ride,
No.
but we get to connect. Well, again, thank you. And to our listeners, thank you. Stay anchored with purpose. Friend, thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. If today's episode encouraged you, challenged you, or reminded you that you're not alone, would you do me a favor? Share it with a friend who could use a little encouragement too. And if you haven't already, be sure to follow the podcast and leave a review. This helps more women discover the show and become anchored with what matters most. For more faith-filled encouragement, free resources, and tools to help you live with purpose and intention, visit anchoredwithpurpose.com. And as you head back into your day, my prayer is that you walk away feeling encouraged, inspired, and a little more anchored in God's purpose for your life. Until next time, my friend, keep seeking God, keep showing up for what matters most, and keep pursuing the life He created you to live. Stay anchored with purpose.